Hey guys, it's Christina. This is Vox and Guest, and I am joined all the way from Montreal by Dam from SoleilnoiR. You want to say hello, Dam? Say hello to everyone.
Hi, hello everybody. Very happy to be here with you.
I am so happy to have you here, and you. I think we're really one of the first people that I met in the indie music community on Facebook when I got into it back in March or April, and I just was so touched by how kind and sweet and supportive you were, even at the very beginning when I was brand new and nobody knew anybody. And I'm so happy to have you on my couch, so to speak, tonight to chat with you. And I'm sorry that you are not joined by your brothers in arms, but we should definitely mention Seub and Niko. So why don't you begin a little bit just by telling everybody who's in the band and what each of you does?
All right, so I'm going to start with my bandmates, my brothers, like you said. So Seub and Niko are in France. This is where we come from. Myself live in Canada now, in Montreal, but the band is originally in France. So Seub and Niko are in France. Seub is playing bass and backing vocals, and Niko plays the drums, percussions, and backing vocals. And myself, I sing, play the guitar, and the didgeridoo, this Australian Aboriginal traditional instrument.
Oh, yes. We're going to be talking about the didgeridoo a lot tonight. And what I love is that this is the first interview I have ever conducted where there was a didgeridoo present in the room. It is not a gigantic cigarette or anything, guys. When Dom pulls it out, pardon the expression, you'll see that he actually has a didgeridoo just off camera. Oh, here it comes.
Here it is.
Too pretty. Look at it. You can't not show. It's so beautiful. We're going to talk a lot about this, a lot. So, okay, you're here, and I know that I just said how much I like you and, how nice you were to me, but I cannot let you out of a very difficult, intense opening question. I ask everyone something really significant and personal and meaningful at the start of every episode, and you are no exception. So this one is something that's really close to my heart. So I hope you'll dig deep and give me a really honest answer. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Okay. So American movies love to do this thing where whenever someone is carrying a bag of groceries in the movie, they have to have a baguette sticking out of the grocery bag. And I'm wondering, are the French, whether in France or in Montreal, wherever else, are the French legally required to carry a baguette at all times?
And
if so, wait, this is a two-part question. If so, do you require a permit for said baguette? I told you it was going to be hard.
Yeah, so permit required, no, we're quite open-minded about that and we share, okay? But we're really conservative about the baguette. It has to be very specifically baked, and if you don't wake up in the morning early to go to the the bakery store and grab your baguette, you're losing it. You're not. It's gonna be a very bad day.
No, you can curse.
Okay.
You don't want to. So what would that be? Une baguette de merde, a really bad baguette. Yeah. So
shitty baguette.
Yeah, shitty baguette. We do not want that. Okay, so.
Actually, I can have a question for you. Do you know why we carry open the baguette? We open carry the baguette. Do you know why?
It's usually under the arm, right?
Uh-huh.
I think it's because, and I'm probably wrong, but my guess would be as someone who bakes bread occasionally, that if you wrap the baguette, you will accumulate too much moisture and the crust will get soggy.
It's absolutely a good point, but it was more simple than that. It's because usually on the way back home, you're going to just tear up the top of the baguette and eat it. So you need it to carry open it.
I like that answer so much more. It is for easy access to consume the baguette.
Yes,
so
it is.
I would personally then buy 2 baguettes and have one that I intended to save for later and just a walking baguette that I took with me, I think.
Yeah.
I cannot imagine how good real baguette, fresh baguette actually must be. But okay, so you are not legally required to carry them, but you generally do. Okay.
Yeah, because we want to be recognized as the French people. So,
That's right.
We need the baguette, otherwise it's.
That's it,
working.
because sometimes you don't have your beret, sometimes you don't have a very small, thin cigarette, or you're not miming in some way. So how would anyone even know if you were French? Really? Look at this Marcel Damso over here. But okay, so thank you for answering a hard-hitting question like that. But let's get to the real stuff, because I'm not sure if you know, but every episode of this show, I listen to absolutely everything that I can find from the band. I read and I listen, and so I have been through your entire discography, or at least everything I could find. And I cannot wait to talk about SoleilnoiR's music. I absolutely cannot, because it is unlike anything I've ever heard before, but it is also reminiscent of so many genres, bands, songs that I love. But you put everything together in a way that is completely unique and brand new. And I have to dive into all this music with you. So I have a lot of questions. But before I get to those, let's go way back and talk to me about how you got into music in the first place, and specifically because you have this very interesting backstory about an adoptive Aboriginal family that got you into the didgeridoo and all of this stuff. So I have the feeling your answer to this question of how you got started in music is going to be unique relative to everyone else. But tell me how you began singing, how you began guitar, and how you began the didgeridoo.
So on the band aspect, we started the band in 1993-ish.
Mm-hmm.
We were just all at school. I was playing guitar and singing, and we had those little music shop where they would sell those imported CDs from the States. And
Right.
We were at that time of grunge music was everywhere, and we were so amazed by this music. And this shop, the man who was working in the shop, he was a drummer. And he knew that I was looking for a bandmate because I really liked the music and everything.
Yeah.
And he said, I know someone, there's someone that plays drums and everything. So that's how it started. We met at this music shop, and we were not in the same school, but this is how it started. We started one Wednesday afternoon because there was no school that day or something. And
I like that you remember that it was a Wednesday. I like that.
Yeah, so I went there, and it just clicked straight. And
well, but before we get to the band though, Dom, I like the whole story, because I know that SoleilnoiR has had a long history, and there was we have all this stuff to talk to about there. But just you as a person, were you a little kid when you started playing guitar? When you started singing? When did you realize that you were a musician?
So I don't come from a musician's family, but when I was a kid, I'm the last born, and when I was a kid, I was very unstable when I was young, and my parents used to put me on the couch and put some classic music on, and I would just remain quiet and listening to music for hours, and this is how it started, I think. Then my older sister, she was teach clarinet.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I played the clarinet, so I know how that's a lot to teach.
Yeah, so she was rehearsing every day in her bedroom, so I was listening.
Oh, okay.
But when it really started is when my older brother bring the folk guitar at home, and it was from one of his friends, and of course I was not allowed to touch it. It's a brother, and of course the first thing I did
was touch it,
grab the guitar, and I remember the feeling of having this folk guitar with probably jazz strings on it, and I literally cut all my fingers, and I was hiding my hand because I didn't want to show that I played the guitar and everything. But this is probably when I think of the guitar in a way that I was totally amazed by this strange instrument. I didn't even know it was an instrument. I could not understand that at that time, but it was like, there's something with that thing, and that I want to go deeper in. So yeah.
So okay, so you stole your brother's guitar for a little bit, and then at some point you must have gotten your own. Were you in school? Were you older? Was it after you finished school? And was it? And was the band the first band that you were in?
So I'm gonna start with the last thing you asked. The band I was in, SoleilnoiR was not the first band I was in, but I had just a couple of months with two other people. We played a bit of music, but it didn't work. And just after that, we started with SoleilnoiR. About my first guitar, actually, like I said, sometimes you want to share things, sometimes you don't. But I have nothing to hide. My dream as a kid was to be a jet pilot because my dad was in the Navy in France, and
Oh,
I
wow.
grew up literally on nearby airplanes and things like that.
Yeah, wow.
So I did this little concours. I don't know in English. Sorry, I'm losing some words. But
That's okay.
you can go in the school if you don't make an exam. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did an exam and passed the test, and I was admitted to that military school as a very very young boy to literally try to become a jet pilot.
Wow.
But I ended up, unfortunately, being quite bullied by older people for several
Mm.
months till the time I literally escaped from the from the school. And after that, my dad saw that he probably figured out that I was very sad about this story, and
Yeah.
I was not the same little boy or young boy anymore. I was probably 12 years old, 13 years old.
Yeah.
And he took me to a music shop and actually bought me a used guitar.
Oh,
And I still have this guitar. It's an old Fender Newporter, and it was in the shade, full of dust. And
okay.
this guitar summarized everything to me about music because it's those little things you don't see in the shade with full of
Mm,
dirt that can bring the most beautiful things. And
I love that.
to me, it's really the key component of why everything changed in my life, but in a good way. It was a very
Yeah.
sad situation, and my father, who was someone who probably did not want me to go through this
Mm,
kind of lifestyle,
mm.
he literally put that guitar in my hand. So it's the person who did it who make me being able to play music. Yeah.
That's so beautiful. I love what you said too, that, it is the little forgotten things that we keep hidden away that tend to make the most beautiful art or the most beautiful expression of who we are. And you certainly do that. It's so okay. So and I also love that your father went the other way from a lot of stories that you hear where, a lot of kids want to be musicians and their parents are like, no, you should get into a job or go into the military or something like that. And your father was like, here, take this guitar. Let's do this instead. That sounds like a very good dad. But and then at what point did you realize that you can sing so well?
I think I haven't figured out so far.
Okay.
I don't consider myself as a singer because I have no technique. I never took any lessons. So
That
in this
doesn't mean
modern
anything.
world, yeah. But in this modern world, when you always um, overwhelmed by all those standards or things or perfection everywhere,
Mm-hmm.
you're like, oh, this is what a singer is. And a lot of young generation probably that's why there's so much down with that because they
Yeah,
feel that they see something that is not accessible for them because it's not reality.
that's right.
So singing to me was just that. I think I'm not too sure, but I think when I start playing the guitar, first of all, I didn't know notes and chords and things like that, like a lot of us when we start.
Right.
But for me, what I did to try to understand, I would turn on the radio and I would listen to the radio and try to reproduce what I could hear.
Great.
And but quite soon enough, I started to mimic the lyrics of the English song that I wouldn't have no clue about the words or
What
I
the
could not
words were, right?
understand.
That's
You
how I
know,
sing along to your music, Dom. It's the same thing,
so
the other
yeah,
direction. Yeah.
so I think this is how it started. Yeah,
Okay.
because I
Okay.
wanted to understand how I could reproduce thing by hearing it, and
Mm.
this is how it happened.
Hmm.
And after that, with the band itself, when it started, I actually wrote some lyrics. So naturally, I was taking the mic, but there was no really decision about it. It's just the way it
Right.
happened,
Okay.
and yeah. But I learned the hard way because I'm definitely not a singer on the first. What do you say? At first, I'm not a singer at all. Also learned from years of being like bashed by people when I was on stage because I was not singing very well. And it's all about learning and learning and learning, and it's been a long process.
Mhm.
So yeah,
I really that kind of thing makes me so angry because it's there are so many people who are wanting to make music, make art, make literature, whatever. And people come in and will say one thing, one critical thing, one harsh thing, and it's always unnecessary. And how many people never try again, And I mean, not everybody has the wherewithal that you do to just keep going and ignore all of that shit, But if you're out there and you're watching and you're the kind of person that puts people down for making any kind of music or art, we don't
think twice.
That's it. Shut the fuck up. Nobody wants to hear from you, because if you're not an artist, you're a critic, and nobody buys records or books from critics because you suck. So anyway, I'm so glad that you ignored all that down, because we have you now, and we have I call you a singer because you are a singer. You may not be a trained singer, but there is a difference between those two things. And honestly, and we've talked about this on this show before, I think perfection can ruin the heart of art sometimes. It's in that, as Ian from Trickshot called it, the human element. I think that's where a lot of people find their home. So what I want to do before we go any further, because in the chat people have most likely been clamoring to hear the song. You have so many, but we are only going to be able to play one today. So why don't you tell us a little something just before we go to the video for Rien à faire, which means nothing to do. Tell us a little bit about the song, and then we'll come back and we'll talk a lot more about it.
All right, so Rien à faire, like you said, means nothing to do, but in a way that, not that I'm bored, there's nothing we can do about it. That's what it talks about. And literally it talks about someone who is a night watchman, someone that doesn't sleep that much. So when everybody goes to bed, he's going to start seeing things that happen in the back of people that are normally sleeping. This is where everything happens, where all the pieces of the puzzle get together and you understand the bigger picture, which is maybe we're getting out of democracy. Maybe that freedom we think we have, we don't have it. And maybe we're manipulated in a way. And it's actually feeding the insomnia of that person, and it makes him being more awake. And in the chorus, this is what it talks about. It said, I'm insomniac, I got paranoia, and it's a spectacular conspiracy. And but the idea behind that is we're very good, we're very at ease, but at the same time we speak to each other like we are wolves,
dogs. Yeah. So
it's a representation of the tiny balance of life, where love could always win, but it's so easily crushed by those kind of manipulation. Not that I'm being paranoid at all, but there are subtle things that happen every day, and democracy is an old concept that I still wonder if it really happened one day on this planet.
Guys, I mean, I know the lyrics are in French, so it's going to be trickier for you guys to understand. Maybe we'll find a way. I'll probably be pasting the English translation into the chat so people can read it as they listen. But wise words, even if you don't understand them right away, from SoleilnoiR. Let's play Rien à faire.
des périphériques, j'ai cette phobie du populaire. Qu'on est bien à l'air de rien, à se parler comme des chiens. Qu'est-ce qu'on y croit, qu'est-ce qu'on y tient, si tout petit rien qui ne nous mène à rien. Y'a trop de méfiance entre nous, on va finir par terre. Moi qui goûte à la confiance, je l'avoue, j'ai envie de tout foutre en l'air.
So this song, it opens the EP, ECIO, which means what, here and elsewhere?
Yeah.
Okay, so for anyone watching at home, Dom and I had this discussion before we actually started taping, but my French is very old and very bad and very rusty. But I think I get most of what I need to here. But you can obviously, and please do correct me, Dom, when I'm wrong, and I'm sure I will be. But this song, besides what you said so beautifully about the lyrics, and this idea of, the metaphor of a night watchman and someone who's always awake, watching people who are kind of lulled into this somnolence of, taking whatever they're given and not really assessing what's going on around them or connecting to people in any real way. This album and this song, it's a real precursor to me for everything that comes on Alternative later. But you have a lot of themes that you touch on throughout the EP, throughout both albums. And one of them is that the lyrics are all, first of all, they're so beautiful. They're so poetic. Just little phrases that you use and little ideas that you have and ways of expressing yourself. And it's always a little tricky because I know that, especially in my rudimentary translation, I'm probably missing even more of the poetry than I'm getting. But I love the way you express things that, a lot of us will talk about, but maybe not say in such an eloquent way. But all of your songs, all of the lyrics are saying something meaningful. Nothing is a throwaway lyric. Nothing is silly or pointless or just in the service of the song. But another thing that I noticed with Rien à Faire that is, the first of many to do this in your catalog is you have this very ominous kind of tribal, whispery intensity to the music, especially the way that it opens that song. And then, of course, the didgeridoo. And we didn't get to it before the song, but I wanted to make sure that we touched on your relationship with the instrument because it's, first of all, it's a fascinating instrument. And I mean, it has such a specific history, Aboriginal history in Australia. So talk to me before we get any further in terms of the music about how you came to the didgeridoo, as much or as little of that as you want to share.
Yeah, of course. So I remember, I think when I turned 17, I went to Scotland to see my sister, who I moved out from the house and decided to have a little hippie life in Scotland. She was living in a teepee in a quarry in Lowlands. Wow. And it was like a little tribe community. And they got this beautiful festival in Edinburgh called the Fringe Festival. There's a lot of artists in the street and they all play theater, music, circus. So we spent that day in the town during that festival time. And there were people playing this instrument in the street. And it was the first time I heard this. And I was really amazed by the song. I immediately said, oh, okay, I need to learn how to play this. I want to try. Wow. So I did. I was with those people that let me try. And I was about to make a couple of vibrations, very simple things.
Wow.
So when I went back to France, I read a little bit about it, and I knew that it was like more than an amplifier of your mouth and
Yeah.
vocal cords. So any kind of tube could be a didgeridoo in a way.
Right.
That's what I thought at that time. So I cut a piece of bamboo, and that was my first didgeridoo.
Okay.
And this is how we started with. But immediately, as I was already playing with SoleilnoiR, I bring that to the rehearsal area, and we started to add it in some of the songs we would play at that time. So this is about the instrument
so cool.
itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
But-
No, I love it because it's not something you hear in a lot of, kind of alt rock music. You don't hear a lot of didgeridoo, but the way that you use it in the songs is fascinating to me, because sometimes it almost sounds like a talk box, like the guitar effect with the vocals. Sometimes it sounds like more of just a drone. Sometimes it's more percussive. And I love that you layer it in a way where it gives this sort of smoky atmosphere to the songs. But it's not distracting and it doesn't feel out of place, which is kind of remarkable. And of course, so, researching for the show, I kind of went down the rabbit hole with didgeridoos a little bit. And I mean, so there are two ways, from what I can gather, roughly, to play it. There's one where you're just sort of, as you said, kind of vibrating your lips in sort of a drone. And then there's the more circular breathing kind of technique, which I gather takes a lot more time and practice and is a lot more to learn. So how do you play your didgeridoo?
I can show you very easily. The sound might not be very good, but just to understand the concepts behind that. So basically, for Aboriginal Australian people, first of all, this is not an instrument for Aboriginal Australian people. It's a sacred connection from the ancestors to the living ones. The didgeridoo player is connecting the living and the dead. That's basically what it is about. That I can tell not too much about it because it's a bit too sacred. And, in the Aboriginal Australian belief, there's men business and women business that we don't talk about.
Okay.
And it's very well balanced, actually. It's not something that could be understood in a Western point of view. But the idea is the didgeridoo is the main business. So there's things that I can say, I can talk about as an instrument, but when it comes to more sacred things, it's a little bit more quiet.
Understood.
Just to finish the story with this instrument, after a couple of years playing, I actually, just by accident, met an Aboriginal family in Europe. They were showcasing for an event. They were invited to represent the culture. And we connected together, and I actually went back to Australia with them. And this is when everything started. This instrument, if you see that as an instrument, it's just an amplifier. It's just a hollow piece of wood. And what you're going to do, you're going to put your lips on it to make a vibration. This is the first fundamental sound. By pinching and opening your lips very gently, you're going to move with some vibration, with frequencies.
Okay.
This is still the lips vibrating, only the lips. Then you're going to add your tongue to play some rhythms.
Okay.
And then you can add your voice, your vocal cords behind everything.
Right.
And then
cool.
Everything is about breathing. And circular breathing is actually the way you play this instrument. It's a non-stop thing. And I'm not going to go into the detail with that, but this is how you can totally, when you understand the breathing concept with this instrument, you can probably stick this instrument to any kind of music, because rhythms are no longer a barrier. You can play anything when you breathe. It depends on how you breathe, actually.
It's amazing. No, it's amazing. How long did it take you to become proficient to the level that you are with the didgeridoo? I'm sure you're going to tell me that you're not, and all of that, like you did with the singing. But when did you really, how long did it take you to really get to that level of comfort? Because that's not something you can just pick up and play correctly, and certainly not for very long, because most people need to actually breathe occasionally. So
I think I would compare it to a language. You're gonna learn a word every day, get more confident, get more in the pace, and you're gonna be able to start little sentences. And the more you talk about it, you're gonna have more complex structures and things like that. This is, I think, the way it's the best way to understand how it can evolve in the process. But in my own story, there's the instrument before the Aboriginal people, and then the Yida key, the didgeridoo Yida key, after being with my adoption family. And everything changed at that time, and everything became different. The way I would understand the rhythms, the meaning in the rhythms, the tradition that goes with certain sounds, the places it talks about when you play some sort of rhythms, the memory it brings. And when you play the Yida key, you become part of something that is really bigger. And this is the kind of connection you can make. And I know I'm very far from my brothers and sisters in Australia right now, but every time I'm gonna start playing the Yida key, we're connecting. That's really how we see it. And I like the fact that you talked about the tribal aspect of rhythms, thing like that in our music. And this is the structure that this family bring us.
Okay.
I carried with me, bringing back to
the band, right?
And this is the legacy from this family. Yeah.
Oh, it's beautiful. No, I and it's funny because, you know, for a lot of Americans, you know, our main association with the didgeridoo is like the Outback Steakhouse commercials, you know, and it's so stupid. Nobody understands what it means. And again, I wanted to be able to speak at least vaguely intelligently with you about it tonight. And so I did start looking into it, and I got really fascinated by what I was reading. I mean, that termites are boring the trees, these very specific trees, and then, you know, that there's usually this flared bit at the bottom there, and that will change how the sound carries, and it's not just like a tube, and then there are all these non-harmonic spacings, and like it made me realize how much more there is to both the sound, the production of the sound, and the meaning behind the use of, and I, you know, now I feel sort of like I'm saying something unfortunate by calling it an instrument, but, you know, for our purposes, but just using it, that, like you said, it's a connection to the people who are here, the people who are no longer here, and that there's so much meaning to that, you know, and I think that it's just fascinating to me that you've brought that, and really, again, I think part of the reason that I got so into your music so quickly is because, first of all, it's just very good, but secondly, because you and Seub and Niko are very smart about surrounding the didgeridoo, the vocals, and everything with musical elements that make it more a part of everything else that's going on in the song. So, you know, you have a couple live videos on your YouTube channel, and it'll just be you and Niko jamming out for, you know, a couple of minutes at the end of a song, you know, Le Vent Chante or whatever, and it is mesmerizing to me, you know, watching him on the bongos, and then you're there playing the didgeridoo, and it's just, there's this hypnotic, and it's funny because what you're telling me explains how it was resonating with me, no pun intended, as I was listening to it without really understanding why. There's just something so beautiful and primal and meaningful about the sound to that, you know, and really leaning into that. And then, you know, guys, you know, just for the record, then you will listen to another song by SoleilnoiR, and it is like a straight out rocker. Dom is practically rapping on the thing. Like, so there, it's their music is so many different things, and it's why I'm reluctant to assign a genre to it. But do you guys consider yourself to belong to a particular genre, or are you not interested in labeling and limiting in that way?
So, you know, the two eras in SoleilnoiR. We had the band started in 1994,
yes,
2008, and then we're back at it since last year, and it's been like 12, 14 years in between.
Yeah.
So many things have changed since, and I tried to self-reflect to this era in 1994. mixtapes, CDs in envelopes to send to radio stations,
Right.
struggling with lyrics, struggling with translation when we were listening to our favorite bands, not being able to find the lyrics and not being an English speaker,
Right.
fluent one, not understanding what my idols were talking about.
We're saying, right.
That was really hard, but I think we did go with the flow because we were very curious. The thing I can tell you, Christina, is that since day one when we started this project, we were beginners, but we knew already that we didn't want to make covers. I don't know why. We did some. I mean, we did some Foo Fighters, some Pixies, some the Gun Machine, the kind of band that we really enjoyed.
Yeah.
But it was a life need to being able to create something together, even if it was messy, misorganized, not well organized in terms of rhythmic, something like that. We wanted to do us.
Right.
And we don't have any kind of pride telling that we're doing our own music and it's us. We just passengers here. Everything has been done before, and we are very grateful for that legacy. But in a way, I think we assume who we are, and that makes what's the story is about. We just are Seub and Niko, and there's nothing else we need to talk about because we don't try to be someone else. Just us with our strengths and failures and good things and mistakes, and it's okay. It's fine. So that's what the music reflects of, I think.
I agree. I do. And I think that you guys, so again, we'll get to the, the specifics. I mean, you've pretty much stated it, that you guys were together for 14 years, and we're doing very well, touring, and you were on the radio, and the band had a lot of success, and then you took a break for a little while that turned out to be 12 years or so. You moved, and life happens, and that's the way that it goes, and then you've reunited now, which I'm so happy that you have. But I mean, your music from the outset was very definitely you. I didn't hear, I mean, I don't know, the first thing that's available was really from, 2008. So at this point, obviously you'd been together for a very long time, and some of those songs were obviously what you were touring on and everything, but I didn't hear much difference in the sense of, it didn't seem like you guys were struggling to find your voices at the beginning, that you weren't lyrically on point, that you weren't, you didn't have a sense of what you wanted your music to be. And I think in light of what you just said, that you three just bring yourselves to the music and you are yourselves, and then the music becomes whatever that is, it makes sense to me that you would be able to do that pretty immediately. But I mean, the music it's complex, and there's so many elements to it. And I find that fascinating. I mean, I hear playing with rhythms, I hear playing with tempos, I hear different voicings from you, I hear a lot of longing and an urgency to kind of shake people and wake them up in your lyrics. That seems to be a recurrent theme of just, we'll take whatever you give us, and, we'll just be happy with that. And we're kind of just going along, and like, there's more, there can be more. We're all engaged with each other, but we're sitting there staring at the TV, and we don't really speak to each other, and we're not really paying attention to each other, but like, let's actually connect and say something of meaning. We're so divided, but we all have the same fears, and if you look at someone else through their eyes, you can learn about them and learn about yourself. And again, guys, I know it's going to be a little bit of heavy lifting with a band that has, and not all of the songs are in French. There are a couple in English, so you guys will have a little bit of a of a Duolingo break there. But I mean, it is worth looking up what they're saying, and maybe you guys have an English translation somewhere. I didn't find it if you did, but I mean, the lyrics are really powerful, and is that all you writing the lyrics, or are the three of you involved?
So I'm the one writing the lyrics, but it's because I've been able to develop such a good chemistry with Seub and Niko because we
Mm.
literally grew up together and
Right.
we know each other so well and we have struggled in so many ways together. And we come from quite modest family, the three of us,
Mm.
and we have lots of time I had to choose between a meal and a pack of strings
Mm.
and thing like that. So it really kept us together
Mm.
in the
Mm.
hard times, and for that reason, there's a lot of trust from Niko and Seub about my writing process,
Okay.
and they really don't put any pressure at me if I'm not really writing a lot. I'm not an organized person in writing. I'm not Victor Hugo doing pages and pages. Everybody, that's not me. Um, there's a lot of self-reflection and a lot of thinking. So
Mm.
those words take shape and forms in my brain, and
Mm.
the pencil, the pen and the paper is really the last thing that's gonna
Mm.
happen. Usually the text gonna be quite advanced when it's first put on the
Okay.
paper. So yeah, I write the lyrics, but I can't say that it's a me process. It's not,
Hmm.
but we don't really talk about it. It
Huh.
just happens.
Okay. So, I mean, when you're writing a song, do you begin with lyrics? Do you begin with instrumentation? Does it depend on the song? How did you put together like a fair or any of them really? Like what's the songwriting song building process among the three of you?
What's a big mess, first of all. There's no recipe. It's very instinctive,
Mm.
and so came with the best line like Ici ailleurs, for instance, which is a low song in the EP.
Mm-hmm.
That's his works. Niko can just bring just one rhythm,
Mm.
make a little loop on that rhythm when we were rehearsing at that time, and we're gonna build something about it. Or I'm gonna come with a guitar riff, or even the didgeridoo rhythm.
Mm.
So there's a lot of different things, but it's all about the connections.
Yes.
It's not about a very strict and drastic creation, creative process. And for the lyrics, I would say that it usually comes after the music
Okay.
because it guides us into the acceptance of the story itself that's going to happen. And it's not that the lyrics does not inspire the writing. The lyrics help. How can I say that? The lyrics would help to define a bit better those foggy ideas in our
Mm.
heads. Probably it gives us structure, but not
Right.
guiding the way we should write. Just like this is where we are now. What's
Okay.
in your mind somewhere that belongs to that story?
Okay.
That's
Okay.
probably how I see it. Yeah.
So it sounds like the music informs the lyrics and the lyrics inform the music back and forth, which and it sounds to me like too that you're saying that it could is it almost like, Niko starts playing something like ECIO and he's playing a rhythm and you guys are sitting in the room with him and are you, I mean, not anymore, but building, like, oh hey, you keep playing that and then you would put a guitar riff over it, or are you writing these things separately? I mean, now I imagine it's a little bit different, but you're putting your new music together, but this is the stuff that came when you were all in the same state as country rather. So I imagine the process was a little bit different, but
So just so you know, we made decision at that time. I think it was just after Alternative went out, because actually Alternative came before ECIR. Alternative was
really,
released in 2003.
oh,
ECIR
of course, was 2008, was
is
it?
yeah, ECIR was actually
That's right.
a EP that would have bring us some exposure to try to get to another level with an album.
Mm,
So it did not happen at that time. We were exhausted, and this is why we stopped. We
yeah,
were
yeah.
broke. I was homeless, and Niko was getting really in trouble with this love story. He had to make the choice. He did, and we respect him for that. Of course,
Okay.
it was the best decision ever he could have made. Because there was
Okay.
a lot of story that led to stopping
Right.
after being so consistent from 2003 to 2007. Well, we literally dropped from everything and we started rehearse like 5 hours a day. And so this what you described, how you thought it could have happened, that's actually how it would happen all the time, because we would spend hours together
Okay.
every day,
Okay.
hours,
Wow.
and playing and trying things. And we know each other that we are not very good individual musicians. We're not technical. We don't have that big knowledge of music. But what we know very well is that when we combine those three of us together, we're gonna find a way to sound
Yeah.
authentic and to sound like it actually means something. And so, we were talking about perfection earlier. When you start looking for perfection, but you look more for commitment and connection, this is where beautiful things start. And
Exactly.
this is what guided us to, first of all, Alternative in 2003, which was when I went back from Australia with all that new legacy injected in it, and we did that album. And after that, we were ready to go to the next step. So ECIR becomes more complex in a way, but very less charged with a lot of music. There's much less ingredients in a way when you listen to the sound of this EP, because we realized that the less we would put in, the more authentic it would become. So there's a lot of fundamentals into that process that we wanted to respect. And as we were growing up into that process, it became obvious that we didn't want to do less, but there was need for much more room and space and breathing.
Okay, I'm processing that as you say it, because it's interesting that, and I think it's why I ended up misspeaking, because ECIR is definitely more spare. You've kind of boiled down the essence of the band and the music, but it's not that it's simplistic, it's just simpler. But Alternative is such a, I mean, man, first of all, for a first thing that you put out, you had what? There were, well, I mean, a first thing that you have out on Spotify, at least.
Yeah, there were two demos before that. There was a 5-7 pieces released in 1996, which was literally recorded live, and it's just not listenable. It's something. It's the first CD we
That's why I couldn't find it. Okay.
paid for that CD and everything, and then we did the 4 pieces in 1998, which was a very short, more hardcore metal era, when we really experienced things much more brutal with the didgeridoo at that time. And then I went to Australia, and everything changed. And so for Niko, Seub, and I, the really beginning of the story is Alternative. This is where everything's really made sense at some point. Everything connected.
But it's such a strong album. I mean, and it's interesting because as I was listening to it, this isn't, and I don't do this very often, but I restarted most of your songs at least once after I'd gotten a minute, 3 minutes, in some cases 4 or 5 minutes into it, because you have some songs that are 6, 7, 8 minutes long, because I wanted to hear it again, having just heard it. And I can't really explain why that is, but it was because sometimes and this is all complimentary, by the way, because I'm going to be fighting my brain to express this in a way that gets across what I was feeling, which is very difficult to do. But so as I say it badly, know that it's all intended to be positive things that I'm saying. So bear with me here. But so I'm listening, I'm hearing Rage Against the Machine. I'm hearing Red Hot Chili Peppers. I'm hearing Paramore. I'm hearing Down with the Sickness in certain spots. I'm hearing so many different and again, it's not that you sound like that. I always tell people when I mention bands and I compare to songs or musicians, it's not because it's a derivative. It's just oh, my brain lights up and goes, oh, wow, this sounds like, this song that I love, or this part of this song that I love, or the way that this band usually does things that I love. But as I said at the beginning, I've never heard all of these elements put together the way that you do. And then you add the didgeridoo, which, sometimes it's so subtle that it takes you a while to realize that it's not you singing or a background or something else, like even a synth or something. It's the didgeridoo. It's just in there. Sometimes it's very front and center. But then, even the way that you are, I think really what makes the music stand out so much is, as I said, the lyricism is beautiful, Dom. It really is. And even the way you guys got your name, I knew when I saw it, Black Sun, fine, but you didn't just come up with a random, phrase or whatever. This was from a poet, right? El Desdichado, right. The unfortunate, right? So this line, and I'm not even going to try to butcher it in French, but the idea being like, that my only star is dead, my only star has died, and my starry lute carries the black sun of melancholy. And how beautiful a phrase is that, right? It's got so much in it. And I feel like for your band, it's a perfect, first of all, I hope I got the translation at least remotely right, but it's a perfect lyric. It's a perfect, well, it's a line from a poem, but it could be a SoleilnoiR lyric. It's that similar in aesthetic to what you are writing about and the kind of music that you make, because it does have a lot of melancholy. It has so much emotion and passion and intensity. And what you are saying is, in a lot of instances, heartbreaking. We have lost each other so much in life. We are surrounded by people all the time. And yet in a lot of ways, I don't think any of us has ever been more alone. We're connected to people through technology all the time. Everyone's always on their phones, on their social media, whatever, but nobody's saying anything to each other. Nobody's communicating, and nobody's, as you've said, connecting. And I think that now, as I've said to Greg, 30 something times at this point, I often don't understand exactly how I feel about the music until I start talking during these interviews and I'm processing it with you. And I think it's why I fell in love with your music from even before what I knew, because there is so much connection built into it. There is so much honesty and vulnerability and authenticity, and your lyrics they're gorgeous. The idea, claws of chimera, and sketches on the skin, and just all these little throwaway phrases that, again, I might be butchering the translations, but they're beautiful. And I, as somebody who ostensibly at least is a singer, I always listen to vocals and lyrics first, right? And so I had a little more work to do to get my French up and running, but I was really taken, Dom, by what you write, and if all that you had succeeded in doing was writing beautiful lyrics, I would have still loved the music. But the music is beautiful too. And this is why, guys, this song that you've heard, Rien à faire, fantastic song, one bit of what SoleilnoiR does. You need to listen to all the other stuff because it's all different. But there are those through lines. So I don't really have a question. I just wanted to say all those things because I'm grateful that you're making music, and again, obviously I know that these are older songs, but I'm sure you're still and the new things that are coming will be in this vein, I'm sure. But you since you've been making music with these goals: connection and authenticity and meaning and communicating. And is there anything in that you found that has either given you experiences with the band that you don't think you would have had, or do people tend to miss it? Are you getting that sense of connection from people through the music? I know live you at least must have, because you had a lot with the crowd. They were in it with you, I could tell.
Wow, there's a lot of things in what you said that
yes
that
I talk a lot, Dom. I do.
No, but you talk in essence. So you could talk hours. It would be an essence of something. So
Thank you.
first of all, I want to say thank you for what you said. It touched me.
Oh,
What can I say that? This music stayed in the shade for so many years. We did a lot of things, but like any other band, in empty rooms and empty clubs and things like that. But we never gave up about that. We were just exhausted, so we stopped. But the music that had been widely spread on a podcast and indie radios across North America since February, in French, among modern music style. These were recorded in 2003 and 2005, and we're listening to that in 2023 as if it's fresh music.
Yeah.
This is why amazes us the most is like people discover our music now. This music that we put so much of us into it with that will for that message you just summarized this evening. Well, that's why I'm thankful. Maybe it took 20 years to finally someone heard it.
No, but it's you're more than welcome, and believe me, I'm not done saying wonderful things about your music because we haven't even gotten into other specific songs yet. But it's also such a testament to the truth of what you write that 20 years later, it's just as apropos as it was when you wrote it, if not more so, I mean,
Scary,
the world was, it is. And I mean, I really, what SoleilnoiR kind of seems to me to be is that one star that has not died, that is showing you that there are still people out there. There is still connection out there. There are people who feel as you do and fear as you do. And I love that everything that you write and the music that is embracing it is so, you're giving so much of yourselves. And I felt that. I did. I felt it. I felt when you were, screaming, I felt your rage and your frustration. And when you were whispering, I felt your fear and your urgency. And when you were singing, I was singing along with you. And it's so beautiful to find a band anywhere that, and it's why I love doing the show. One of many reasons is that I get to do this a lot, thankfully, find bands where they make me feel something. And Steam Slicer leaps very much to mind too. I had a similar kind of experience in a different way with Joel's music, but you really have managed to make something that is very catchy and very radio friendly and very easy to see how it would be popular and successful without remotely having dumbed it down or pandered or, cleaned it up or made it, too perfect or too sanitized where it wouldn't offend anybody or upset anybody or whatever. And you've done it with a didgeridoo. and are there clapsticks too? Or is it just is that a sound that you like?
Yeah. Sometimes there are clapsticks because it's the fundamental rhythmics of the Aboriginal people.
And I mean, and I feel like every time and it's why I wanted to listen back too, in part, was that I had to hear each song. It took me so long to prepare for this interview, Tom, because, you have 20 something songs that I was able to go through, and I listened to them all probably 2 or 3 times. And because first of all, I wanted to make sure I was understanding the lyrics. Second of all, I wanted to make sure I was hearing the music, and then I wanted to put it all together. And then there were just so many times. You have things where you will just, like, ici ailleurs, you have almost 3 minutes of complete silence at the end of that song. And I'm checking back and forth, on my thing going, did my Spotify break? But just the last second, then I was like, oh, okay, no, we are still here. But I understood, I think I understood that choice because you wanted to give us time to sit with what the album had just said, and it did that. It did that, unless it was a mistake.
So it actually was a mistake at first, but for a very obvious reason, we did a CD.
Okay.
And on that CD, there was an extra video. At that time, we would put some videos on the CDs.
Yeah.
And when we were one of the first bands in France to go to a streaming platform at that time, Believe Management, I think, in
Okay.
2007. So we were in the beginning in Europe of streaming platform. If only we were new at that time. Uh, what happened is that the format of the song was Isaiah plus the video, so it ended up being with the 2 minutes of silence.
Oh,
But
okay.
when I figured out, I was like, man, this is perfect. This is exactly what it is about. So it was not intentional, but at the end of the day, it was a perfect time of silence, which made us feel really complete about this one. So yeah, that's
What
funny.
a happy accident, though. No, and but you do have one sound at the very end. Now it's sort of like almost like it's like a, an old TV turning off, like that,
Yeah.
static. And that's why I thought it was intentional too, because I needed some time at the end to really sit with that, because I mean, you've I mean, I don't know. I cannot overstate how much I love the music, and guys, I mean, just for everyone watching, I hear elements of Rush. Again, as I said, Chili Peppers, I hear Rage Against the Machine, I hear some Weezer in places, I do hear some Paramore in places. I hear so much that you guys I know love. But again, it's not like any of that. and I really how does it feel? I mean, are you performing these songs now again, or are you mainly focused on the new ones that you're working on?
So short story, long story. That's what. That's
Long
what you
story
say
short, yeah. Long story short.
Long story short. So we decided to reunite for good. It was in summer 2022.
Mhm.
So I said to somebody, "Okay, I'm coming over. We're gonna rehearse for 3 days and see what happens." First of all, when we started that and we went on stage to rehearse, the first song we played, and then we stopped. We had all three of us. We had to sit down because it was too intense. What happened is that when we finished that first song,
was that C'est quand Sem or
the first song we did that day, I think it was Au Cœur, because it's a song that we played a lot at that time.
Yeah.
And we finished the song. Everyone had to to put the guitar, the bass back, and then like, what just happened?
Wow.
And
okay.
What we told each other is like, man, it's like we have just came back from that pause outside the building and come back. It's been 14 years, but we feel like it's been 5 minutes.
Amazing.
And we had no clue it would be like that. So it was very emotional in good way. It was very positive, but at the same time, we were like, what the fuck have we done in this past 12 years? We could have done so much better. There was a bit of disappointment in a way, but we decided to go on and say, okay, let's do this. So we did 2 shows and we actually played pretty much all the songs, but we didn't play the English songs from Alternative. We wanted to assume the French at that time.
Yeah.
So I went back to Montreal. Then we reflect about this. We talked about it, and I said, okay, so are we back at it? Well, obviously we're back at it.
Yeah.
So I came back this year on February. We did 3 of the shows in south of France.
Right.
And we rehearsed for 2 days, and we were able to go in the studio and record 3 new songs.
Unbelievable. That is, I mean, but it makes so much sense that you would be able to do that, because I don't think that kind of a tether or a bond that you 3 have breaks. I just don't. And especially given the music that you made together when, all those years, it's too personal. As you said, there's too much of each of you in it. And it's really, I mean, but what an incredible experience to come back after 14 years and pick up as if it was a week ago. It's remarkable.
Really, really, that's what happened. And we didn't really practice on everything, but we kept it simple because we knew that we could not be as sharp as we were. It's just about practice.
Sure.
But the way it ended up is like we really enjoyed the moment, and we were really determined to work hard, and we had just a couple of days to prepare, and we did a good show. We were happy with that.
That's and you said, so of the 3, there is 1 English song. So guys, Those of you watching in America who only speak English or whatever, you have one song. You can go and listen to Coma. That one's in English too. I got to ask you about that song, Dom, because it's, and again, always only what you're comfortable with, because sometimes I will ask a question and it's poking a bear that I don't realize I'm poking because I don't know the answer. That's a very, I mean, again, assuming my translation is correct, you're writing a song from the perspective of someone who's in a coma, watching their friends, watching their family. What makes you come up with a story like that, and why the decision to do it in English?
I think for that one, the music speaks to me as it would be English lyrics. And I think I was more comfortable about talking to that in English, even if I don't think my English is very good on that song. It's a bit of an interpretation of how I would have said that in French. It's not really very good English in some way. I'm not sure.
I didn't notice anything like that. I didn't. But.
Okay, well, look at me. It speaks about. I think I lost it about it a little bit about this era in a way. But Coma, it talks about how I could feel sometimes. Where you desperately try to reach someone with some feeling something, and you're not, and you feel like you're really out of your body, and surrounding people in the room. And I would consider myself as a person in the coma, just seeing the scene, like being speechless and not being able to desperately say to people that you love them or that you hear or thing like that. So I think that's how I thought about it when I wrote this song.
Beautiful. No, I love the way you really are a poet. Honestly, if you took your lyrics and you stripped the music away and you published them in a book, I would absolutely think you were a poet only and not also a musician. You know what I mean? And it really, the metaphor, like with the night watchman or being in a coma. And again, it's this is what I mean by these themes that you have of solitude and loneliness and wanting to connect and wanting to communicate. And Dom, I got to tell you, it is something that it is one of the great sadnesses of my life, how many people I have wanted to be able to reach and connect with in different ways to save themselves, to save me, to save the relationship I was in with them, to save them from making mistakes that I made or that I know they might be making. And not in some sense that I'm omniscient or that I'm wiser than anybody else. It's just, just this idea of wanting to connect. And, especially the last few years, just watching that disappear with so many people and people that I thought were foundational in my life, that I don't even recognize anymore. And so it is part of why not everyone might react as viscerally to your music as I do. But I think if people are being honest with themselves, and especially if they go to the trouble of figuring out what the lyrics mean, I don't think there's a person that can't relate to what you're saying. You just say it a hell of a lot better than most of us do, because it's just so beautiful. And I mean the imagery, that you paint with the words that you use, and in a way, I don't think that it would all be as perfect in English, because there is something about a turn of phrase in French that is not, you cannot capture it in another language. It's just, do you know what I mean? So like, I really, it's so beautiful and it's so moving. And I love that you three have the same level of emotion, making the music, playing the music, recording the music, that I and other people have listening to it. To me, that tells me you've done everything you needed to correctly, everything that you needed to right, because it wouldn't translate, no pun intended, especially in another language, the way that it does if you weren't being so emotionally open, and so many people don't do that even in their music, so I hope you recognize, because I've heard you criticize your singing, I've heard you criticize your English, I've heard you criticize, other things, I haven't
I'm
heard you say
working
a
on
lot
it.
of I haven't heard you say a lot of really nice things, which I think is part of why I'm blasting you with them, because you have to hear it. These are really special songs. They really are. And I really, really want everybody watching and listening to listen to them, and more than listen, to hear and pay attention to them. And you can do that lyrically, you can do that musically, you can do it as I did with both, and it may take you a couple times of listening, but it is it's such a wonderful constellation of things that you've succeeded in. This deep emotional well that you're pulling from, and the beauty of the music and the lyrics that you have. And the fact that the stuff is just also really very fucking catchy, like it's not where I'm not sitting there, feeling like I'm reading War and Peace or whatever. Like, I mean, yeah, I'm getting a lot of meaning from it, and I'm being very emotionally moved by it, but the songs are that, like you get into them. And you guys, and just to lighten it up a little bit for you and anybody watching, like you guys, you make some really cool choices in terms of switching up your rhythms, your tempos, your, almost your genre, your voicing and everything within the songs. Is that intended from the beginning, or is that sort of just an outgrowth of, because it seems to be that the music that you make is a very like organic process. It comes as it comes. So I don't imagine you're planning it, because you said it's messy, but like, is there any thought of like, oh, and here we're going to completely switch this, is there anything like that, or that's just what happened?
So that's the part of natural process, like I would say probably every band, but as we, sorry to be a bit negative again, but as we didn't think we were good musicians enough as individuals, we worked on those little details.
Okay.
That's what we did.
Okay.
We say, okay, I know I can do a big shredding guitar, or I know I can do those triple things on the hit hat. I know I can do some slap bass.
Yeah.
But maybe what we can do is together tweak some things, switch things, and try to reinforce just one little detail. And this is going to make us better sounding as a group, the band. Yeah. So those ones, part of them are intentional. Yeah.
I can't understand what frame of reference you guys were using that you didn't think you were good musicians, but it had to have been like, it's like when Salieri watched Mozart or whatever, and he's like, oh, I'm no good. And Salieri was fine, he just wasn't Mozart. And I'm not overselling it, obviously, but I mean, we can always find someone to compare ourselves to, by which comparison we suffer, right? But
it could have been worse. It could have been worse. I could have, cut one of my ears or something like that.
Right. Exactly. You could have gone to that level, and you didn't. You have both ears, and I'm very proud of you for that. You need them for your job. So okay, just so that because I would love to talk a little bit more granularly about some of the music. You mentioned au cœur, which is what, in the heart?
For me, au cœur is like in your heart, but it's a little like deep into something. So this song talks about the forest, the bush, and it talks about my connection with the bush, with my adoption family in Australia. This is a place where I've been one day, and I found a land eagle feather, and it was just at the how do you say that? When you enter the forest, you had the limit before the trees are there. Okay,
the clearing, maybe?
Yeah, just before being in the forest, the line of tree, the first line. And that feather was just there, and I just took it and went back to see my adoption father, and he said, "Oh, you keep it, son. You keep it. This is very important for us." And it was a land eagle feather, and it's very important for that specific family. There's a lot of different animals, something like that.
Okay.
But for this specific family, this one is very important. And the fact that I found one was something quite crazy. Apparently, I didn't know, but I just bring a feather. Oh, look, I found this beautiful feather. And to me, oh my God. And to me, it talks about that. It talks about dig deep into the forest, to be in the heart of the mother's heartbeat, Mother Nature. So that's what it talked about. Yeah.
And it's so vivid too, dancing around the fire, and again, I apologize if my translations are off, but the idea of sort of, remembering how it was in your childhood, and this idea of kind of stripping away all of the artifice of being an adult and just letting go and being in the moment, and you have the translation I came out with was the idea of composing tomorrows. And I don't know if that's what you said, but that's how I translated it. And if it isn't what you said, don't even tell me, because I love the idea of that it's just this beauty of the idea of, moving forward hand in hand and not being hurt, not getting hurt, not getting wounded by life. And it's great because I figured, and this isn't my acting like I know more than I did, but just based on what I knew of you and your connection to, Aboriginal culture and your Australian family and everything like that, it had that, like, let's just leave the world that we think we have behind and just go into the heart of the forest and find the heart of us in that forest and boil it all down and simplify it and just be. And for that to do as well as it did, I mean, that song was quite popular, right? I mean, that song.
Yeah, that's the song that, popular, in a way, respectfully, like, being a band in the 90s in southeast of France, in a country that does not really recognize young artists. So we were popular. We had the music on local radio, thing like that, in the countryside. And that's one of the songs that people know us about. And,
yeah, but I mean, it's great because I mean that's a song where, because the album starts, and I'm not going to say it correctly. It can't. I mean, is it Dunoch? Is it Dunuch? How do you pronounce the first?
So Dunuch is from this Aboriginal family, and what you hear is Manima Nirigo Ganima Guniro. It's a finishing dance from them, and they say, "I'm going home. I'm hungry for my home. I'm hungry for my snow country," because this particular family comes from the snowy mountains, the Blue Mountains in Southeast Australia.
Okay.
And Dunuch is actually this little owl.
Oh,
that's Dunuch.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So they open the album with one of their finishing dance, which is for us to begin with that gift from them was essential, because it's where I came from to meet myself on the other side of the mother, and they guided us through those reasons. Finishing dance, I'm going home, and
beautiful.
This is how we invite people to go home with us.
That's beautiful. No, and I love that you moved from that directly into Okoro, because it's, now that I know more about what Dunuch is about, because again, for those who haven't heard it yet, it is, kind of a chanting, lots of percussion, didgeridoo, it's only about half a minute long. And then immediately we go into something that's, pretty harder rock, and then alt rock with all these harmonies. And it was a spot of, it's nice because I think your albums just by nature musically make people wake up a little bit, because you do have these little interstitials, you have Dunuch, you have, but you do dip into songs where they're only 30 seconds, 20 seconds, a minute long. And then the next song could be a completely different feel, and you move from Okoro, which is very, I mean, guys, the drumming, first of all, Niko is tremendous. I mean, you all are, but like certain songs you really notice, like Isiayor and I think Okoro, you notice the drumming a lot, and it's just, he's so tight and it's so powerful, and that you've got this really sort of beautiful, sweet message, and you've got this really kick-ass song behind it, and I love that, and I understand why it was popular. I mean, I understand you're putting that in its perspective, but if you're being played anywhere, I think most people watching this show would consider that a popular song, people who are hoping to get a couple of streams on something. So and then Revelator, why don't we talk a little bit about that, because that song's got a lot going on. Why are you laughing? Is it my pronunciation or something else?
Oh no, I'm not sure I'm gonna keep saying I have nothing to hide anymore.
Oh, okay.
No, that's okay. it's a love story, you know.
No, listen, only what you are comfortable with, Dom.
I'm
Don't
totally
have
comfortable with that. Don't worry. I was just joking about it.
Okay. I'm done. That's a big deal for me. I never want anyone to be uncomfortable on this show. So
I am so proud of this song and the lyrics because it was a girl I was with at that time for a couple of months. She was a photographer
okay.
and she would do live photography. So she would, catch the instant with those pictures, and she's really good at it,
Mm-hmm.
And Revelator, it's the chemicals when you
The developer, right?
the developer,
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of double senses into that word, I think, as usual, as you can understand. And
right. So guys, just to bring you in on this, the idea that it's developing like the chemical, the developer in photography, but it can also mean like revealing something. So there's a lot of double meaning. And I was like, I don't think I'm misinterpreting this as developer, but the photography thing helps me a lot with that. So go on as you were saying.
Yeah, and it talks about it's a tribute to that person because I've been so amazed by her work, and I was really into her and things like that. It's just a love story that did not end well, like so many. I wanted to keep something about this story and put that in a song, and that's what I did with that. It was really healing. It was a very healing process to write this song. And I really enjoyed the result. But I do think we're literally in the laboratory and developing that song in a way.
Yeah. And the lyrics are beautiful. And again, I say this every time, but what I got the idea was that your balance was missing an atom. Is that roughly and it's such a great way, because it's just one thing, it's just one thing that's missing, but it unbalances everything, and I loved that idea, and that the black suits her, the night suits her, it's so, your lyrics are so, I know I keep repeating myself, but they're so beautiful. They're beautiful because you're also not just using beautiful language to say something meaningless. You're using beautiful language to say something that's emotional and intense and important, and this idea that, even, and it's funny because you do talk about, I can try to convince you, I can try to make this work, but ultimately, I'm just going to kind of accept it, and I'm going to, move on, and I'm going to be free, I'm going to be free. But it didn't sound angry or bitter or, because some songs will do that where they'll talk for the first, 2/3 of the song about like, oh, I want you to be with me. And at the end, it's like, well, okay, fuck you. I don't want you anymore. And I didn't get that at all. And I mean, some of it is, I think, the idea that, you put so much, there's so much romance and love and emotion in the lyrics, your skin breaks me and haunts me. And like, it's like you can feel that longing and that connection and that passion. And then the idea that you've just sort of accepted that atom is never going to come into balance. It's never going to be the charge that it needs to be. And I've never heard anyone express, I mean, there are a billion songs about relationships that fail, as you said, right? But I've never heard one describe it like this. And you have such a gift lyrically, Dom, you really do. And and also just hearing you say it in French is we American ladies tend to like hearing French anyway, but it's really you did honor her, and I wanted to know more about it at the end of it. I was like, oh, because it's so beautiful. So, I mean, you were as happy with that, it sounds like, as I was. But you're particularly proud of that one out of many of them. That sounds like it was one that you were especially proud of.
At that specific time, because of the idea I had to reproduce the process of a photography into a story, and it could have been really dumb and heavy and not particularly well done. And, you said that you like the word that I use, the beautiful thing, and what I had in mind, I wanted to say that when you want to say something good, you need to use good words,
Yeah.
and there's a
Yeah.
bit of work to put into that,
Yes.
and
Yes.
that meaning, that thing, the essence of something is deserve that you sweat a little bit on the paper.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
No, yeah. But not everybody can come up with it at the end of that work, though. You realize, right? It wasn't just a matter of effort that anybody could do. Like that metaphor is it could have been very simplistic and very, as you said, overdone. You know, the idea of developing it, and it wasn't at all. It was. I think because you made it very scientific and very literal in some sense, you know, and it really in that way kind of made it universal, which I thought was just such a great choice. But you should be proud of it.
well, I'm also proud that person bring that to me, because that's a beautiful work, and the
Yeah.
person she is that bring that in the scene and make me able to do that. So that's why I'm not uh, uh, angry about
Bitter.
those things.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're sad, you move on, like every young person that found it. Oh, this is the one, but obviously it's not. That's life. That's how it is, and
Right.
you're gonna learn from that. But the fact that you actually carry a part of this person in that story, it's a gift from her. So nobody should be angry about that. There's a piece of anybody you touch, and anybody you met, anybody in your own story, which is so precious. So you should be always proud about these feelings.
As I said, he's a poet. No, but I appreciate that too, because I've always found it odd that people will be in love with someone or have a really close emotional bond of any kind with someone. And then when the relationship ends, it's like they have to hate them, and it's like, that's never made sense to me. I mean, yeah, there are some relationships that clearly the person on the other end of it does not deserve to move forward in your story with you on any level. But for the most part, unless something like that has happened, I feel as you do, that we can take what we have been given as gifts from those people, even if we're not taking them with us. It's a part of them that's intertwined with a part of us. And, and I mean, I've said for years that every single relationship, significant romantic relationship I ever had, save one, taught me music that is crucial to my life now. And if even all somebody teaches you by being with them is music, you've gotten something from them, because it does, that changes the alchemy of who you are. So I love that you captured that. So then, I mean, you get into, and I don't know, is it Mean or Minds, the next
Minds.
song? Minds. Okay. I was like, I don't think means anything, but okay.
Yeah,
So
this is a song that talks about personal minds, those minds that the military would put
the landmines.
everywhere,
Yeah.
and landmines, and so many kids would jump on those mines, and at the time we worked that song, the tree. Unfortunately, the tree continued. Didn't want to sign the world agreement to end up those horrors where, unfortunately, America, Russia, and China. And I was a little bit worried when we started to spread the music in North America that people would end up finding this song and being very offended by that. But I specifically speak about this topic, which is landmines, and this is an awful human creation that should never be there. And since the 60s, or even way before Second World War, those things have been in fields and mutilating people. And what happened in Vietnam in the 60s and 70s, all the kids were jumping on those landmines in the field, in the rice fields, and then it's been Iraq, Afghanistan, and now it's Ukraine and everything. What it's about destruction, there's so much genius, and it's very scary. And that little song is just an angry moment where we don't agree with that commitment. Such a beautiful country with so many people in it can do this. It's just, I don't understand. So this is the song at that period, talk about it. We don't play this song anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can understand why. I mean, it shouldn't be a controversial topic, keeping people from being blown up by landmines. I mean, that should be pretty much 100% agreed that that's a bad thing. But, you know, people will get bent out of shape over all sorts of things now. But I mean, you really, I mean, that was the angriest I had heard you on the album to that point, you know, and I think that you know, I get it. I get why. So you don't sing it anymore. You guys don't play it anymore. We can move on. But I'm just, for this album at least, I wanted to talk a little bit about each song. So so
I'm happy
then
with that.
okay, good. So then you move into Tout ce que l'on sait, right? Oh, that's everything we know or all we know. That's
I think it's Tout va trop vite after Minds.
is it?
Maybe. Yeah, but those sentences are similar, so it's not easy for non-French
Okay, well, that's
speaking
another
person.
one that I love. Everything goes too fast. Oh, yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Because it's that one is another one that song reminded me. Are you guys fans of Alice in Chains at all?
So I'm not a deep fan of Alice in Chains, but because I don't know very well everything at that time we
Okay.
talk about.
Right.
But then
Right.
I moved to Canada. I was finally able to have visual to lyrics. I spent time in college, so I was more comfortable with English. And
Okay.
you know, I mean, if you haven't seen in front of the MTV Unplugged Alice in Chains, you have seen nothing in your life. You know?
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, that was the first time I got any kind of Alice in Chains vibe. I had, as I said, had more of like a Rage Against the Machine, even some Linkin Park stuff like that. But this song is, it's very of the time, I think. Alice in Chains, Soundgarden. It's got that feel. It's slower. It's sludgier, you know. And then you and Niko come in hard, you know, and you've got the effect on the vocals and you know, again, more rage and I just loved the way that you segged from something that was harder like that into these very harmonious. It almost reminds me of like 90s Rush kind of vibe, you know, this very wide open but intricate still with the musicality. And I think that's another song that I don't know if I would call it angry, but no, I would call it angry because it's the more I'm thinking about it, this is the most, I think, wake up call song.
it's a very political song, but
Right.
it talks about again the lack of democracy in our modern eras,
Yes.
and that song is still on point when we talk about when you think of the French government nowadays. This song is still on point. So unfortunately, there's still a lot of road ahead to being able to get those things balanced back. But yeah, to that it speaks about how can I say that? There's a lot. It's a very complex song. There's a lot of complex words and lyrics and double sense and but it talks. It said that again, a little bit like Ce qu'on s'aime in a way, which is the connection to this new era. Freedom comes with right, but mostly with duties. And when we tend to forget about the duties, this is when the mess starts, and when we're losing it, not even realizing that we're losing part of our freedom. I'm not talking about materialistic freedom. I'm talking about this essence of freedom, which is there's self-respect with respecting others. There's room for everyone. There's inclusion.
Yes.
And everything is having bread on the table and roof over the head. This is how should democracy be. And well, we're missing it, obviously.
No, I think, I mean, a lot of the album is political, you know, and but again, I'm glad that you said what you said, because, you know, saying something is political could mean a bunch of different things at this point, you know, now, and it's political, but not divisive. You know, it's actually supposed to be the opposite of being divisive. It's supposed to, as you said very eloquently just now, you know, remind us that we are actually all connected, and that we can have the illusion of happiness or the illusion of freedom or the illusion of peace, but, you know, we're losing ourselves in what we're trading off for those, you know, those conveniences. And I think that you, again, it creeps me out a little bit that this is 20 years old, right? And it's still so relevant because, you know, even just that idea of, you know, nobody expects anything from anyone anymore, you know, and it's so true now, that people, whatever, you can go behind, a keyboard and decimate someone online and nobody will blink twice at it because that's just what you do. You can have people who are throwing each other under the bus, so to speak, and nobody blinks anymore. It's like we, go and shoot up a school and nobody pays attention. I mean, like it's astounding to me what we don't pay attention to and care about anymore as a society. And I think that it's brave that you are, it shouldn't be, but it's brave that you're willing to put this stuff into music because, and I think in that way too, you don't just remind me of Rage Against the Machine musically, you remind me of them, in terms of that very hyper aware socio-political kind of, I mean, that's a very smart band. A lot of people don't realize it, but they have a lot to say and they do, but I mean, it is polarizing, right? So I mean,
Sure.
when you wrote that, was that something that you did play out? Was it something that you only played out sometimes? Were you worried about backlash?
Oh, no, not at all. No. We played it wide and loud.
Okay.
We still play this song.
Okay.
Of course, it's still on point. I mean, there's still
Yeah.
people still need to know that they actually have self-guidance within themselves. They don't need the guidance from others.
Yeah.
It's important to listen to each other. We're talking about connection, about compassion, love, honesty, the will to share, the will to break the bread in pieces for everyone. But when we think of democracy, we have this false sense of we need guidance from others. This is absolutely not true. We need, first of all, to light up this self-ability that makes us being able to act as one piece of the society. And this is not in the political agenda. No way. It's important to understand this. You don't have to be deep into politics, but you have to be deep into yourself in order not to be washed by those false sense of, oh, without us, you don't exist.
Well, it sounds like it's this idea of following a moral compass, rather than an artificial one. And I think that's, again, you do dive into different versions of that with different songs. And I mean, obviously, unfortunately, because you do have such a large catalog relative to, a lot of other musicians, we can't do each song, but like, I guess to ask a weird question then, how did you go from that to a song about Bigfoot and Sasquatch? Like where did, and how do you pronounce that? Is it Douglala, Douglagla? How do you say, and what is that and what's going on with that one?
Dalaga. Is,
yeah, I was not going to get that right.
Dalaga is Aboriginal word for Sasquatch, Bigfoot.
Okay.
Dalaga is a mythical creature. But it's a connection that they see this hairy missing link between animals and human beings in the bush, and you see that in the Rocky Mountains in North America, but there's some in Tibet and Himalaya, and there's obviously one name for that in Aboriginal Australian language, delegate. And the person you hear on that specific little post is my late Uncle Chuck, who is my adoption brother, my adoption dad brother. Okay. And they both passed away years ago, but this is just a piece of what happened in Australia. We were just sitting in that little kitchen, black tea, no sugar, no milk, and we were just talking about a lot of things. And I asked him, Uncle Chuck, can I record you? And you agree to just, speak up about the delegacy? Sure. And he's got this very loud, deep voice. And
yes.
And
very sonorous.
I thought it was perfect. It was the perfect voice to speak about this. And I wanted to go from that extreme of political craziness to that
very
extreme
personal.
of personal thing, very, very, very fragile moment, but at the same time talking about for maybe those people a nonsense topic, but for us something we want to rely on See,
Okay.
this missing link, and that it's a cliche in a way, but this missing link is talking about what missing in our system that makes maybe not understand what we should do instead of what we do right now, because there's a missing link. And maybe that's why those hairy guys show up time to time to remind us that, hey, you're missing it.
You're missing it. No, but this is what I mean though, Dom, that I'm sorry, I'm like, my brain is 1,000 miles a minute just integrating all of this information, but like this experience of only knowing a gloss about certain things, the didgeridoo is okay, yeah, it's an Australian thing and it's the Outback Steakhouse commercial, or Bigfoot and he's in the woods and it's this sort of laughable thing here. And the idea that when you actually step outside of what you know and you listen to what other people think about these same things and what these things mean to other people who know far more about them than you do, how much more meaningful they are, because it didn't make sense to me that you would do something silly, but all I knew about Bigfoot and Sasquatch is like, okay, it's like the Loch Ness monster, it's this thing and nobody but that makes a ton of sense to me. And, now I get this idea of just being in that kitchen, and just having this really personal conversation and memorializing that. It was so smart that you got that on tape, because absolutely, if you had told me that was some, famous voice actor or whatever, I would have believed it, because that's quite a voice, and I love that you can jump and really it's not a jump then when you've told me that, because, Tu vas trop vite is also talking in a way about missing link and this what we're not connecting to and what we're not aware of and what we're not choosing to change, and what you don't choose to change you accept, right? So that's I see, this is why I mean, like, I could talk to you for like 3 days and not get all of it, but let me just, in the interest of time, because I know it's also you've had a very long day, but is there a song of the bands that you consider to be your favorite, one that means the most to you, one that you're especially proud of, or that you really enjoy playing? I mean, I know we talked about Revelator a little bit in that sense, but like, of the ones maybe that we haven't talked about, or even if we have, is there one that, like, if you could tell everybody, okay, if you're going to start listening to Soleil Noir, this is a song I want you to listen to first. Do you have one of those?
Yeah, I do. When we stopped with the band, when we paused, so it was just after releasing the EP. There was 4 songs on it, as obviously, but there was one more song we recorded, and this song is Ce Concert. This song was never released. We kept it. I remember at that time we only had 2 days of studio, because how expensive it can be. So as coming from modest family who would prepare so much, so we were, when we would go to studio, there was no improvisation. Everything was, we were there, record 1, 2, 3, let's go. First track, second track. Okay. Do that. I mean, actually, last February we recorded 3 songs in 1 day and a half. Everything. So because we were prepared for that.
You were ready to go.
But amazing. Not because we want to be prepared, because we don't have choice but to be prepared.
Right. Well, but you know what though, that if you're gonna rally, and come together at a time, like studio time is the time you want to do it. So okay, right. So that makes sense to me, because and I'll let you finish, but Ce Concert is a 2008 song, but released in 2023, and I was trying to figure out, did you just re-record it? But then I couldn't find it. So that makes okay. So it was meant to be on ECIO. It was not. Was that just not, you ran out of time? Oh, it was not. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said there were supposed to be 5 songs on there.
So there was not supposed to be 5 songs, but when we went to record the songs, I asked Niko when he was finishing the drum track, please do Ce Concert. It was not finished at that time. Okay. And Niko was very uncomfortable for doing that, and I begged him to please do one track, please try.
Yeah.
1 try, 2 try. Well, he did that in 2 tries, and it was a song we did not practice. And the break at the end of the song is totally improvised.
Oh my god!
we built the song around it. So we recorded all the music and the lyrics, but for second sem we just recorded the music at that time.
Oh wow.
Then when we decided to take a break with the band, I knew this song was still here. My lyrics were ready.
Yeah.
So I went back to see our sound engineer, Yannick, who is the sound engineer we work with in studio. By the way, we still work with him. He's actually in France working on mastering the 3 new songs.
Ah, that's wonderful.
It's a crazy story. Well, that's another thing we talked about when we released the songs, maybe. But anyway, so he did it. Niko recorded it, and then when we decided to pause, I said, "Okay, I want to finish this good. I need to go record those lyrics." So I went to see Yannick and I asked him, "Can I sing this song and can I sing that and you can record it?" He said, "Sure, we're gonna do it." So we finished the concept, and then I moved to Canada.
Wow.
And when we decided to reunite, just before that, I found out that we still have access to those streaming platforms.
Yeah.
The agreement we signed in 2007 was still here. I don't know why.
Wow.
So I just logged in, and the backstage thing from Believe was still available. I said,
"You're kidding."
"Okay, well, let's put this song on," and this is what happened. And after that, the song was next to the EP on streaming platforms.
Yeah.
And so to me, it was a fantastic missing link. So
there you go.
I was about to connect from that old story, the pause, and then to that new era. And second sem put us back into it.
Amazing.
And we had never played that live until last year.
When right, you did your little, not little, but you did your mini tour. Yeah. So that was the first time you ever played it live, was when you had reunited after 14 years.
And we literally freaked out when we played this song live. It is so powerful. We had no clue.
Yeah.
As a live song, there's a very shitty video on YouTube. You can go have a look. There's two songs on it. It's I think there's Tu vas trop vite. Attends. Yeah, Attends and Second Sem. And if you don't want to listen to the first one, you go straight. The song is awful, but I invite you to go watch it. Just about the energy, the power that gets out of the three of us, because we had no clue, and we were really shaken when we finished the set. Because did you ever thought about this song as such a powerful tool on stage? And we didn't know. So to me, Second Sem, it's a fantastic connection about the past and the present, but in a way that represents us the best. We really want to be on stage. That's all we want. We're begging for stage. I don't care creating 20 other songs. Put me on a tour on the boat, or put me on the truck in the desert, and let's go to all those remote communities like Midnight All did in the 80s. We want to play. That's all we want. And this song is it's crazy good to play. I love playing this song. It's so powerful.
I think every musician watching and listening to this knows that feeling, I hope at least, of just when something like that, whatever their version of it is, happens, where you just go and you're sort of surprised by what you as a solo musician or what your duo or your band can do. And I love that there's all these synchronicities in what you're talking about, right? You know, that the lyrics that you wrote 20 years ago or more are still relevant and just as unfortunately applicable today, and that, you know, you guys could go, you know, more than a decade without being together and come back and just be right where you were, and then discover what you're doing now from playing something that was the last thing you wrote before that hiatus, but you're back. Like it's just, this is like a movie, Dom. Like it's like a movie that somebody would write. It's just, you know, and then like at the end, you guys are on stage like, yeah, you know, and then there's like a freeze frame in the credit. Like, I love that. You must have been so excited to feel that first thing on the first time playing that song live, considering that it was the last thing you guys had made. That's amazing.
And you know what was more exciting is that 3 days before that, I just had my appendix removed.
Oh my God. Did you have to make it like a more interesting story? I don't think you did, but wait, so
I went to France in February. We started rehearsal. We did the first show.
Oh my
Then
God.
I suddenly started to feel weird. So, And
Oh no.
we talked offline, but although I do work as a health professional, so I knew
Right.
exactly what was happening. I was
Yeah.
oh my, okay, here we go. I'm in France. I don't live in France anymore. I don't have insurance anymore. I have nothing.
Yeah.
I need to go to the ER and say, well, I think I'm gonna go to have surgery today. And I was kicked out the hospital the day after because I was okay and they needed room. And 2 hours after that, I was rehearsing.
Jesus. Oh my
And
God.
we had another 2 rehearsals the 2 days after, and a photo shoot on the Saturday morning, and then we played the Saturday evening. That's why I would like you to have a look at this little video, which is
Yeah.
sitting with the sun. But you will see that I don't look like I've just had my appendix removed, and the
All lit
two,
up.
so
Yeah.
the day after is a Sunday, and this is when we recorded the 3 new songs.
Wow. All
I
right,
must say,
guys.
I must say,
What's your excuse?
I must say that when I went back to Canada, I crashed. But
I mean, God, I would hope so. Otherwise, I'd have to wonder if you were actually Batman and you just weren't telling us, you know? Like, that's,
that you
that's a lot.
know, when you hear the Blues Brothers say we're on the mission, see, that's how I felt that day. I said, "There's no way I'm not gonna do those shows. There's no
Yeah.
way I'm not gonna record
Yeah.
those songs. I'm here. I'm gonna just shake it up and let's go." And that's what we did, and that was nice.
I can't. I can't. Okay. I mean, I really, I wish I had twice as much time with you, but just before we begin to wrap up, tell us more about these 3 new songs. When can we expect them? And how are you guys going to handle touring on this, considering that you are not all in France anymore? Like, what's your plan there? What is the future of Soleil Noir looking like?
So I'm gonna try to find the proper words for that. Let's talk about the songs if you want first.
Sure.
So there are 3 new songs coming. They are in the process of being mastered right now.
Right.
As I speak, I'm connecting with Yannick, the sound engineer, from distance, and we work on live session from distance, and we work on those songs. So the songs are nearly ready. We're not really sure how we're gonna release it, when exactly. I think we're gonna release one first before the end of this year.
Okay.
I wanted to talk to the English song because I wanted to write one song in English, especially because we were so much welcomed by North America and English-speaking countries with our French songs that I wanted to give back.
Aww.
So that's why I wrote this song in English. This song is called "Be Loud, Be Real," and it talks about our reunion. And I'm just gonna say a couple of lyrics. It starts with "Back at it, we're shaking it up. Took us a while to make it happen because we were miles apart and broken. Now we're taking it back, taking back control, taking you back home. We're walking to the stage, and we're delighted. We told you, I'm forgetting it right now, but it says about we're so happy to be back on stage.
Yeah.
Be loud, be real is like being back on stage,
That's
back
great.
at it.
That's
So
great.
It's a short song, quite Fugazi influenced style.
Oh, okay.
And then we got 2 other songs. One is called On Tolère, and I think it makes the link with Tout va trop vite on ce qu'on s'aime.
Okay.
And another one is called Chez nous, home, where we are. And it talks about the city we grew up, where we come from, Saint-Raphaël, in the southeast of France. This actually, when we take our official pictures, that's those big mountains behind us. This is that country. It's a French Riviera, so it's really nearby the Mediterranean Sea. But there's all of these rocky mountains, kind of Colorado style things.
Yeah.
And this is what it is about. This song, Chez nous, is a little bit more pop song.
Okay.
Kind of a change, but we didn't really think about it. It's just the way it ended up. And it's probably going to be the first song we're going to release as soon as possible.
Okay.
And about touring issues, I'm glad you asked. I can talk about it, but we're not allowed to. But we're gonna probably hear from some news before the end of the year. Not from us, from some people we would be working with.
Okay. All right. You say no more. This is we're tantalized, and you are tantalizing us with the idea of big news, big things coming soon for Soleil Noir. So make sure that over the next couple months you keep an extra close eye on their social media, because apparently some info is going to drop that we're not at liberty to discuss right now. We do not have the freedom, the personal freedom, Dom, to discuss it right now. But I'm hoping it's a good thing. It sounds like it is, but we won't talk.
Yeah, it definitely is. It will be another way to try other things at other levels.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. All right. So we know before the end of the year we will have some new music. And I
Hopefully.
mean, how amazing is that? That, you know, you're 15 years out and you're making new music and it's already been recorded.
Yeah, three new songs, and we're working on 6 other songs right now.
Ah.
I'm actually going back to France end of October to spend 3 weeks, so we're gonna rehearse for those next 3 weeks, and we'll see what 2024 will bring us.
Okay. I cannot wait to see. I cannot wait. Dom, you and I are going to have separate conversations about the other half of your catalog, but since you, as I said, you had a long day, I will take you to, as you may know, the end of every episode. We have a segment we call In the Vox Seat. And I have asked every single musician who has been on this show the same 5 questions. So I'm going to ask you the 5 questions now, and we will see how it goes, because the last question is more political than anything that you've even talked about in this episode tonight. So we'll get there. But the first question is, and I'm not sure how you will do this because I certainly couldn't, but if you had to sum up Soleil Noir's music in 5 words or less, what words would you choose? And they can be French or English, and I'll do my best to try and understand them if they're in French. But you have to summarize your music. That can be individual words, it can be a phrase, it can be a sentence, whatever you like.
Humility, fundamentals, connection, compassion, and love.
Wow. Okay. I'm not speechless often, but that that did it. Because that was really quick, but really perfect too. And compassion especially is a great word. And the humility, you know, you guys are, I mean, I don't know how Seub and Niko are, but I imagine since you guys
they never stop showing off. It's annoying.
There you go, spoken like a true brother. But no, you guys clearly. I hope at some point I get to meet them. Maybe next year when you've got 9 new songs out or whatever. You come back and we'll talk about those, and I can get to meet the guys. But perfect choice of words, absolutely perfect. I can add absolutely nothing to that. So I will move to the next question, which is, what is your? I think I might know, but what is your favorite thing about being a musician?
No, you didn't know.
I don't know.
Being alive.
Okay. I did not know. I was going to say connection. I was going to say connecting with people, but okay. You said being alive.
Yeah.
Now, do you mean literally just being alive, or that it makes you feel alive, or both, or something else entirely?
It makes me being alive.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's that dovetails with me, the idea that what you really want to do is you guys want to be on stage playing, because if you can light up like that when you just got out of surgery a couple days before, on the average tour, you're probably even more alive. So, okay, but now the flip side question is, what is your least favorite thing about being a musician, if you have one?
Having to be somehow part of the system, to try to exist to not being part of the system anymore.
Well, that's profound. Yeah, I mean that's a tricky thing too, because it's. I mean, there's so much controversy about how do you get yourself heard and get yourself known, but not subject yourself to being a cog in the machine. So I could, for you especially, given your lyrics and your really just your view on life, I could imagine that's a difficult line to balance on for you. So okay.
I mean, we're part of it like everybody else, so we cannot speed on those things.
Right.
Like being honest. but we all know that it's not the solution.
Yeah.
It's not the way it should be, and I don't see that as a long-term story. The way the music industry is working right now, because I don't think we are in the same pattern of music consumption anymore as well. I think it's already a bit obsolete, the way the industry sees music nowadays. Maybe that time again, indie community is gonna show and lead the way like it always
Yeah.
did in the past, until it was retaken from us.
Right. And just made into this corporate machine. Now, I think everyone in the chat is going, fuck yeah, at this point, because that's kind of the whole thing is just, look at the power that, this particular group of musicians has had in getting themselves and each other heard just in this year. I mean, it's astounding what everyone working together connected and selflessly, like you've been saying. Look at what you all have done. So, okay, we have not really gone near it, so I'm curious what your answer will be. If you could only listen to one album for the rest of your life, just one, which album would you choose and why?
Super Unknown from Soundgarden.
Okay, all right. So tell me the why, besides the fact that it's a great album.
Because there's nothing wrong in that album. You can dig into that tirelessly. You would not find any single second that is not worth it. And no matter if you like this music style or not, it's just perfection to me is Super Unknown from Soundgarden.
Okay. I can't argue with you either. It's funny. Like I feel like I extend these things more just with the answers, and I'm like, no, you've said everything. I could just talk and not add anything to it. So, okay, Dom.
Well, you asked up to wrap it up, so.
Oh well, I hope that's not it. But no. But I mean, okay. So no, but it's really you say a lot with not too much too, which is a skill. Believe me, I do not possess that skill whatsoever. I say a lot without saying much most of the time. But okay, so we have talked about your journey as a band. We've talked about your journey as a musician and meeting your brothers and life and politics and personal experience and connection and all of this stuff. And we come to the final question, which is of such intelligence, I can't even begin to convey it to you. But here it is, because this question has divided the indie community. You are all about connection, and this question is a divisive one. But you will either gain or lose fans no matter what you say here. So just be honest, okay? Your toilet paper roll, okay? When you put the toilet paper on the little holder, does the toilet paper come from over the top, or do you pull it out from under the bottom, and why?
So I like my toilet paper to fall, because it's like begging for me to catch him. On the other side, it's like he's trying to climb, like climb against itself, and it's freaking me out. So I like to have this falling.
I have to say,
I spend a lot of time on the ball, obviously.
No, this may be my favorite rationale for an answer, since JD from Death Pigeon said that he does not want the back of the toilet paper touching the wall because bugs could crawl on it. And then he apologized to the spider community, which is very on brand for JD, being an incredible person and very thoughtful.
Oh, yes,
but
he is.
This is right up there for me. The idea that it is like a lover just, beckoning out to you versus some creepy fucking thing that's crawling up onto itself and freaking you out. I love it.
Simple as that.
Even Dom from Jamsteak, who is the first and diehard of the Under Army, as they call it, even he may not be able to argue with that one. Dom, I don't know. Can you? You probably can. Freaky Things is very happy right now. But yes, so you join an illustrious group, a very large group of over people. So thank you for brightening up the whole rationale bit of that, because I don't think I'm ever going to look at a roll of toilet paper the same now. Thank you very much. And that if anything, summarizes SoleilnoiR for me, because you do make me see things that you share, that you convey, that you play, that you communicate, and just the emotions that you convey in a completely different way. You know, I really, I hope it's clear to you from what I've said. And if it's not, I'm going to keep trying. What a fan I am, and how much I love your music. And I really, I'm so happy that you three are back together. You're meant to be together and making music and making new music. And I cannot wait to hear what you have done now with 20 years more life in each of you and behind each of you. I'm excited for it. When you release it, will you please tag me or somehow let me know, because Facebook won't show me and I don't want to miss it.
Sorry, Christina, you don't get it. You didn't understand that you're gonna be one of the people that spotted us since day one. That's gonna have listened to it before every others.
I'm excited. Okay.
We're gonna send those songs to all the people that have supported us since February, and they will be listening to it before it's released.
I am honored, and doing a little happy dance. I'm doing a little happy dance. You saw my little happy dance. That would be amazing, and I would guard that with my heart. But I can't wait, because I am just where you guys were when you wrote what you wrote and made what you made, and now knowing what having a couple of decades of life does to your worldview and your ability to access your own emotions, I can't imagine how fucking fantastic this is going to be. So I can't wait. And thank you so much for that. And thank you for being on this show and for talking to me. And please tell Seub and Niko that, you know, I'm sorry that we missed them, but I'm sure we'll meet at some point, and the four of us can sit around and talk about how great your music is.
I'll pass on the message, and I think they would be so happy to meet you and being more often part of this amazing community. I want to thank everybody around the world that have been supporting us in the past 6 months. It's been quite a crazy journey. You pushed us in the right direction, all of us. I want to say hi to all the bands that we've been interacting with since February, and all the podcasters, the indie radio DJs that are on the same game, connecting, like you said, and trying to push ourselves in the best way possible, just to live the thing. And this is precious, what's happening, and we're part of it, and everyone that wants to join is welcome. That's the beauty of it.
I love this, man. I do. Dom, really, I'm just going to end it there, because I can't say anything better than what he just said. Thank you so much for what you said. Thank you for being here. Thank you for the music. Thank you for putting yourself into it and sharing it with us. And thank you guys for watching another Vox and Guest. We'll see you next time. Bye.